You can hide your face from a camera and still leave behind more clues than you think. The way you walk, the shape of your body, the rhythm of your movement, the clothes you wear, the bag you always carry on one shoulder, even the route you take through a familiar place. None of those clues is a name, not by itself. But modern identification systems are not always looking for one perfect clue. They are looking for a pattern. That distinction matters. People imagine surveillance as a camera zooming in on a face, matching it to a database, and instantly producing a name. Real systems are often messier than that. They may rank possibilities. They may connect a person across different cameras. They may decide that two clips probably show the same individual, even if neither clip is good enough for a facial match. Researchers call this person re-identification. The question is not always, who is this? Sometimes it is, have we seen this same person before? And you do not need a face to begin answering that question. Imagine a person entering a train station in a dark jacket carrying a bright backpack, walking with a distinctive stride. A second camera sees someone with the same silhouette leaving through another exit. The system may not know the person's name, but it can still connect the two moments. That is the first uncomfortable idea. Anonymity is not the same thing as invisibility. The technology has limits. Lighting changes, cameras miss details, clothes change, people look similar. Any system can be wrong. But the incentive to combine signals keeps growing because every additional clue makes a guess a little stronger. So this is not a story about a machine that magically knows everyone. It is a story about what happens when ordinary details, movement, clothing, time, place, and behavior start to function like a fingerprint. And once a system can follow a pattern, the next question becomes much more important than the camera itself. Who owns the pattern? And what happens when these ordinary details become a permanent record? To understand why this is possible, it helps to separate identification from recognition. Recognition asks whether a camera has found a match. Identification asks who that match might be. Re-identification sits in the middle. It tries to connect appearances across time and place. That can involve body shape, height estimates, posture, clothing color, the way a person moves, or the objects that stay with them from one scene to the next. Researchers have studied gait, the way a person walks, for decades. It is not a magic signature. A limp can disappear. A heavy coat can change the outline of a body. A crowded sidewalk can hide the details. But gait can still be one useful signal among many. The same is true for behavior. If a device appears near a building every weekday morning, if a car follows the same route, if one person repeatedly enters after another person leaves, systems can begin to connect events. This is where people make a common mistake. They ask whether one camera can identify them. The more important question is whether several systems, each with incomplete information, can be connected. One camera sees a jacket, another sees a car. A phone app records a location signal. A building badge logs an entry time. None of those records tells the full story. Together, they can narrow the space around a person's identity. That does not mean every business or city is doing this. Different countries and organizations have different laws, policies, and technical capabilities. It also does not mean that a match is reliable enough to make a serious decision. But it explains why privacy experts worry about systems that collect more than one kind of data. The risk is not one camera. The risk is a chain of clues becoming easier to join. And when that chain creates an error, a human being, not an algorithm, has to live with the consequences. There is another reason this topic deserves caution. Systems do not need to be perfect to change how people are treated. If an algorithm produces a short list instead of a final answer, someone may still act on that short list. If a system connects two clips with high confidence, an investigator may focus attention in one direction and ignore another. That is why accuracy is only part of the story. The other part is context. A system trained on clean, controlled images may behave differently in rain, darkness, crowds, low-resolution video, or unusual camera angles. A person wearing a mask, a hat, or simply different clothes can change the result. So can age, disability, body type, and the quality of the footage. The danger is not only a false match, it is false confidence. When a number appears on a screen, 80%, 90%, high probability, it can look more objective than it really is. But a confidence score is not a moral verdict. It is not proof. It is a calculation based on data, design choices, and assumptions made by people. Technology is not a witness. It is evidence that still needs to be tested. The more invisible the system becomes, the harder that testing is for ordinary people. You may never know that a camera linked two appearances. You may never know that a profile was built from the way you move. You may never get a chance to challenge the result. That is why transparency matters just as much as accuracy. If a system influences access, security, employment, policing, or public services, people should be able to ask basic questions. What data was used? How reliable is it? Who reviewed the outcome? And what happens when the system gets it wrong? So what does this mean for an ordinary person walking through an ordinary day? It does not mean you should live in fear of every camera. Cameras can provide legitimate safety, access, and operational benefits, and most footage is never used to identify anyone. It means privacy is changing shape. For years, we thought of privacy as the right to keep secrets. But in a world of connected systems, privacy is also the right not to have ordinary behavior silently turned into an identity trail. You can reduce some of the signals you leave behind. Review app permissions. Be careful about public posts that reveal your daily routine. Think twice before sharing real-time location. Ask what a service actually needs before giving it access. But individual choices can only do so much. The larger question belongs to companies, governments, and the public. When should a system be allowed to connect scattered clues into a person's profile? Should it require clear notice, a legal threshold, independent testing, a human review, a way to appeal? Those questions are not anti-technology. They are what responsible technology looks like. Because the most powerful systems are not always the ones that see the most. They are the ones that connect the most. And if a machine can recognize you without seeing your face, then the real issue is no longer whether you are visible. It is whether you still have control over the story your data tells. There is a reason this conversation can feel abstract until it suddenly does not. Most of us do not notice the systems around us when they work quietly. The camera at an entrance, the badge reader in an office, the phone in a pocket, the app that remembers a route. Each one seems small, but small systems can become a large system when they begin to exchange context. That is why the best protection is not a fantasy of becoming invisible. It is a demand for rules before invisible systems become normal. Rules about purpose, rules about retention, rules about sharing, rules that separate a useful safety tool from an unlimited identity machine, and rules that recognize a basic fact. Being observed is not the same as being understood. A camera can see a body, a model can estimate a match, a database can connect a route. None of them knows your intent, your character, or your future. That boundary should not disappear just because the technology is impressive. The next time you hear that a system can identify someone without a face, do not ask only whether it works. Ask what it is allowed to do when it works. Ask who checks the mistakes. Ask whether the people being measured ever get a say. Because technology becomes dangerous, not at the moment it becomes capable. It becomes dangerous when capability arrives before accountability.